In government, there is an eternal friction between the brilliant academics who design flawless systems in a classroom and the working bureaucrats who have to make those systems function in reality. The beautiful theory almost always collapses on contact with the messy truth. France in the mid-18th century was exactly that kind of mess. The national economy was heavily regulated, stagnant, and struggling to keep its citizens fed and working. Looking to fix this crisis, the group of Parisian intellectuals formed the physiocrats. They are widely considered the world's first formal school of economists, led by a thinker named François Quesnay. This animated diagram shows the core obsession of the physiocrats, a grand mathematical theory where wealth flows in a closed loop, linking the entirety of a nation's prosperity exclusively to agriculture. These sweeping, elegant models looked absolutely perfect on paper, but they lacked the flexibility required to patch the holes in an actual bleeding economy. Enter Louis-Paul Abeille. He wasn't a Parisian intellectual born into the salon culture. He came from a well-connected Breton family, starting out as a lawyer with provincial roots on the coastal marshes of Brittany. He rose rapidly from a regional lawyer to Inspector General of Commerce. Along the way, his early meticulous writings caught the attention of the economic elite in Paris. Abeille quickly converted to physiocracy. He became Quesnay's third dedicated disciple, churning out anonymous publications that promoted the school's agricultural theories. But his day job required him to actively inspect commerce and manufactures for the king. While his peers were debating high philosophy, Abeille was getting first-hand exposure to the raw friction of daily trade. That daily immersion in the physical realities of commerce set a ticking time bomb under his loyalty to pure physiocratic doctrine. In 1768, Abeille was appointed Secretary General of the Bureau of Commerce in Paris. This high-ranking promotion solidified his role as a practical administrator responsible for real-world outcomes. While the physiocrats spent their time debating the overarching nuances of their economic models, Abeille was much more interested in actionable laissez-faire policy. Laissez-faire is an economic doctrine that opposes government interference in commercial affairs. Abeille's methodology was highly specific. Rather than trying to engineer a flawless national economy from the top down, he focused his energy on removing tangible, everyday barriers to trade. These flowcharts show his comparative approach. He analyzed police regulations governing grain markets, contrasting the heavily restricted process in France with the streamlined movement in England. Abeille deduced the high price of grain wasn't caused by lacking macroeconomic theory, but by specific, local regulatory bottlenecks. For Abeille, actionable laissez-faire meant simply tearing down bad laws. Building complex theoretical frameworks was entirely secondary to that goal. Abeille's practical approach soon met a direct threat within his own circle, a young, capable, and highly theoretical economist named Dupont de Nemours. Dupont possessed a strict devotion to ideological doctrine. That unbending loyalty began to win him the favor of the master, Quesnay, slowly edging the pragmatic Abeille out of the inner circle. This created escalating friction. Dupont demanded theoretical purity from the group's members, while Abeille demanded practical solutions to the nation's dying commerce. The breaking point arrived in 1768. A direct, heated quarrel with Dupont forced Abeille to realize that the physiocrats would always prioritize their doctrine over actual functional governance. Abeille officially walked away from the physiocrats. It was a clear signal that for an administrator tasked with the day-to-day survival of the state, the group's increasingly rigid ideology was no longer a tool, it was an obstacle. Breaking with France's premier economic school did not end Abeille's career. Instead, it freed him from their dogma, allowing him to pursue actionable state policy on his own terms. In his later years, he built new alliances with the neo-Colbertists. This was a faction of economic thinkers, including countful figures like Jacques Necker, who shared his pragmatic, hands-on approach to statecraft. Abeille maintained high-level influence for decades. He became a leading member of the Société Royale d'Agriculture and earned ennoblement from Louis XVI in 1787. Through his anonymous pamphlets and his quiet administrative work, Abeille did more to implement actual free trade than the loudest theoretical debates happening in the Parisian salons. Abeille's career suggests a specific tension in governance. While sweeping economic theories occupy the history books, the actual machinery of a nation depends on the bureaucrats who focus on tearing down the specific local barriers that stop trade in its tracks.